All right, class. So I hope you can see my screen. So this is an example of a multiple choice question. Okay. So here's an example of a multiple choice question. Now remember, in IELTS, there are three types of multiple choice questions. Okay. There are basically three types of multiple choice questions. So I hope you're writing. Now, there is a multiple choice question with three options. Now, with three options, I mean is where you have option letter A, option letter B, and option letter C. Now, in this case, you're meant to pick only one correct answer. Only one correct answer, or only one correct option. Okay? Now, secondly, there is also a multiple choice question with four options. That's another type of multiple choice question according to the listening test. Now, a multiple choice question with four options would have option letter A, option letter B, option letter C, and option letter D. I hope this is clear. So in that case, you're meant to pick only one correct answer choice. Only one correct answer choice. Now, let me show you an example of, which is the third part, a multiple choice question with three options. Let me show you. I'm going to share my screen now to show you that. Let me show you a multiple choice question with five options. At least you'll be able to see how it looks like in the listening test. All right, so I'm sharing that right away. Now, this is a multiple choice question with five options. Okay, this is a multiple choice question with five options. Now, usually for a multiple choice question with five options, excuse me, let me mute Faith. Okay, yeah. All right, she has been muted so that she doesn't distract us. So this is an example of a multiple choice question with five options. Okay, example of a multiple choice question with five options. So in this case, it will be clearly stated. For example, question 11 and 12. Choose two letters, and you're choosing these two letters from letter A to E. So that simply means that a multiple choice question with five options will have from letter A to E. So that means you have letter A, letter B, letter C, letter D, and letter E, five options. And then you're expected to pick two correct answer choices. Don't forget. Two correct answer choices. Don't forget. Two correct answer choices. All right. And now, when you're choosing these two correct answer choices, the order of arrangement does not matter. The order of arrangement does not matter. Let me explain what I mean by that. Now, what I mean by the order of arrangement doesn't matter is that now the answer for question number 11 can be letter E, while the answer for question number 12 can be letter A. Ideally, A is supposed to come before E, all right? But if you have it as question number 11 having the answer of letter E and question number 12 having the answer of letter A, it doesn't matter at all. Why? Why doesn't it matter? Because it is only a single letter A that we have. We don't have double letter A. We don't have double letter E. It's only just a single letter E that we have. All right. So you would definitely have that correctly. I hope this is clear to you. So please don't forget. Let me quickly take a recap. At least for those that are joining, we have 17 participants now. All right. So we're moving straight to the question types in the listening tests. And I said that the first aspect to which I'll be looking at in these question types are first one is the multiple choice question. Now, according to IELTS, there are three types of multiple choice questions in IELTS. The first one is called, okay, a multiple choice question with three options, whereby you have option letter A, B, and C. And you're meant to pick only one correct answer choice. Then we also have a multiple choice question with four options, all right, such as the A, B, C, and D. And what you're expected to do is to pick only one correct answer choice. Now, the last one is a multiple choice question with five options, whereby you're expected to pick two correct answer choices, okay? And the order of arrangement doesn't matter, which I've just explained not quite long. All right, so if that is clear, now let's proceed to the strategy. Now, concerning the strategy for multiple choice questions, okay, concerning the strategy for multiple choice question, now what you need to do, very, very important is this. Now, when you read each question, okay, when you read each question, by question I mean, let me give an example. Look at the first one, question 11 and 12. Which two changes have been made so far during the refurbishment of the theater? Now, looking at that question, you need to hold on to some keywords. What are those keywords? Number one, changes. All right. Number two, refurbishment. Number three, theater. All right. Now, what that simply means is that examiner would most likely, out of these three keywords, make changes. I mean, switch vocabulary or tweak the vocabulary. Okay. For example, changes might be, you may hear changes as improvements. Okay. Refurbishment could be renovated. All right. So even if examiner decides to make any particular tweak in terms of vocabulary, still pay rapt attention. All right. And then what do? Having identified the keyword from the question itself, look at the options clearly. You can just, glance through the question. Glance through the question. Because obviously, when examiner gets to this particular question, question number 11 and 12, examiner will be mentioning some of the options. But there's a trick to it. What's the trick? Pay attention to transitions. Pay attention to transitions. What are transitions? Transitions or conjunctions. Most importantly, it is called cohesion. All right, in advanced English, it's called cohesion, means connective devices, such as conjunctions or transitions. Okay, so you need to pay attention to them. Words like however, but, you need to pay attention to them. For example, examiner may mention some rooms that have a different use. Okay, a different type of seating has been installed. The moment you hear but, it means that option letter A and B that have just been read can never serve as the answer anymore. Why? Because that but invalidates the initial two. It invalidates A and B. Now you pay attention to the subsequent ones clearly. These are the tricks. These are the tricks. Now, when you enroll for the tutorial class, the proper tutorial class that ACE Education will be taking, all right, I will personally introduce a software that has the same interface as the exam itself, and it is self-graded. Now, this interface, we've actually, we usually upload questions that test takers attempt on yearly basis. We update questions there. So you have access to those questions and you'll be able to attempt them. And remember, like I said, it is self-graded, meaning that once you're done with the listening test, it will grade you automatically. You will see the score, you will see the band score. If you want to review, you will see it there. If you want to check for explanation, you will see it there. So it has been programmed basically. And remember that this is a free class. Okay. So I won't go to that extent of exposing you to that. But when you enroll for that particular paid class, then we can now tell you. But then what I can do to help for some of you that want to practice, I can personally send to your email. All right. I can send about 40 official IELTS materials where you also have access to these ones I'm sharing on the screen. Okay. PDF materials, videos, I can share all those ones for free. Okay. But the software are basically for paid classes. All right. So that aside, let's continue. That's the trick. Look at 13 and 14, where you have which two facilities does the theater currently offer to the public? So in that case, What are the keywords? Facilities. All right. Then you can hold on to theta too. And then you have public and then offer. These are keywords. Remember, like I said, examiner will make a tweak to this vocabulary. They will want to paraphrase. They want to use synonyms. That's why you also need to be very good with synonyms. You need to be very good with vocabulary. If you're not good with vocabulary, you will not be able to thrive in listening, in reading, in writing, and then in speaking. You will not be able to thrive in them. So it's very, very important that you're good with vocabulary usage. I hope this is very, very clear. Now, when you hold on to this particular keywords, okay, you may not bother reading the options. Why? Because in between the conversation, examiner will be mentioning the options. And like I explained to you, the trick is this: pay attention to cohesive devices, such as what? Connectors, linking words, such as transitions and conjunctions. You will hear rooms for hire, backstage tours, hire of costumes. But the moment you hear, if you've been practicing the listening test, you will perfectly understand what I'm talking about. But for those that have not been practicing, you may not be able to really understand, except you take a practice. All right. So the moment you hear but or however or although, any contradictory words you hear, all right, invalidate the previous options mentioned and then focus on the following ones. All right. So I hope multiple choice questions are well understood. Remember, we have 3 types of them, and I've explained them, I think, about twice now. Now, let's move to another question type, very, very important. And this is called fill in the gap question. I hope you're writing as well, too. Fill in the gap question, or what we call sentence completion question, or in Nigerian context, we call that German question. Okay, so let me share my screen to show you, and then after which we'll look at how to attempt it and the strategies. So just a minute, please. All right. So this is an example of a fill in the gap question. This is an example of a fill in the gap question, and I think you may be familiar with this slide. And this is a fill in the gap question. It's a sentence completion question. And remember, by sentence completion, we mean that ordinarily the sentence is incomplete. All right, meaning that there is a blank. All right, either at the beginning, just as number 1 is, and number 2, okay, or either in the middle, just as number 3, question number 3 is. I hope you can see. Let me try to, yes, I'm trying to increase it. I hope you can see it very well, okay? Now, there is a blank either at the beginning, just as number 1 is, either in the middle, just as number 3 is, question number 3 is, or there is a blank at the end, just as question number 4 is and question number 6 is. All right. Now, What are you expected to do here? Now, for sentence completion, one of the major strategy is this. One of the major strategy is this. Number one, you need to listen attentively. Rapt attention is required. Why? Because in filling the gap, you cannot guess. If you try to guess, trust me, you're shooting yourself in the leg. Now, what are you expected to do? Try to pick a keyword. Let's assume that there's a blank in the middle. Pick a keyword before the blank and pick a keyword after the blank. Look at question number 3 and question number 5, for instance. Now, let me pick question number 5, okay? Let me use question number 5. I'm still coming back to question number 3. Now, for question number 5, you can see that the incomplete sentence is what? Customer wants to see the dash on the way to Cambria. Okay? Now, look at that phrase. Customer wants to see the dash. Now, customer there is a keyword for you to hold on to, even when the examiner decides to tweak the vocabulary customer. Okay? Now, you hold on to customer. Okay? Then Cambria is a particular location. Trust me, examiner can never change Cambria to anything at all. The speaker will definitely mention Cambria. So you hold on to a word before, a word after. Very, very important. Now, when you do that, what do? You try as much as possible to also listen. Okay? Try as much as possible to also listen. Now, another thing is, while you're listening, pay attention to what the answer is likely to be. You can make a guess too. I keep mentioning that. When you're actually listening question, have the ability to predict. For example, look at number 5. Customer wants to see the dash. What do they want to see? What does customer wants to see? The dash on the way to Cambria. Does customer wants to see a person? Does customer wants to see an event? The event? You know, you can easily make predictions. Does customer wants to see the movie on the way to Cambria? You're already making predictions such that when you hear the answer, what do? You quickly impute it immediately. You don't waste any time. Look at question number 3 now. Los Angeles as a location, you will definitely hear it. You will definitely hear it. When it comes to exact name of a person, location, all right, you will definitely hear it. Very, very important. For instance, Los Angeles, customer wants to visit. Okay? Visit dash park with her children. Okay? You'll be asking yourself, okay, what park exactly? What park does customer wants to visit? What park exactly? You can be guessing. Is it a theme park? Is it just suggest, is it a row park? Is it a car park? Just think. Your ability to predict goes a long way too, until you hear the answer. That's how to measure some level of readiness or preparedness. Now, I mentioned 2 important things. Don't forget, please. First thing is what? Pay rapt attention when you're doing filling the gap question or sentence completion question. Pay rapt attention. Yes, because you cannot guess. Secondly, if it's a filling the gap question in which the blank occurs in the middle, all right, pick a word before, pick a word after. Very, very important. And then pay attention to. You will definitely hear the answer. You will definitely hear the answer. Very, very important. As I'm explaining to you, I'm also telling you the strategies to apply. Now, I hope this question type is very, very clear. The next one is matching features. Ensure you're writing them down, excuse me. Ensure you're writing them down in your notebook. Matching features. Matching features. That's the next question type we're looking at. Matching features. I'm going to show you a sample to that. of a matching feature question. I hope you can see my screen. So this is an example of matching feature question. All right. So you will have the features on top. What are the features? The one that has A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. All right. So these are the features on top. For example, you have letter A as it will move to a new location. B is it will have its opening hours extended. C is it will be refurbished. D is it will be used for a different purpose, and so on like that. Now, this is actually your own duty. You see these features I just read out now? They are your own duties. You have to look at them one after another. You have to pay attention very, very well. Now, you see these facilities here, all right, from 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. It is the speaker's responsibility, not yours. It is the speaker's responsibility, not yours. So 16, you have railway station car park. 17, you have cinema. 18, you have indoor market. 19, you have library. 20, you have nature reserve. Now, pay attention to the plan up there. That's the features from A to G. That's what you pay rapt attention to. Let me tell you how this works. This also requires rapt attention. This also requires paraphrasing. You have to be very, very careful. If you're expecting the examiner to read out the same way you're seeing these options from option letter A to G, it won't occur that way. Examiner will tweak the vocabulary. Examiner will definitely paraphrase. For instance, this is how it works. Now, the speaker or the examiner will start with the first one. The first one is railway station car park. He or she will start explaining, start describing the railway station car park. As the speaker is describing it, as the speaker is explaining it, please, your eyeball will be moving up and down in these particular plans, in these features from A to G. Your eyes will be moving up and down. What are you trying to do? You're trying to identify the specific feature that matches with railway station car park. That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to identify the specific feature that matches with railway station car park. Once you're able to easily identify, what do? Slot in the letter beside this blank or slot in the letter in that blank. For example, if what actually captures the railway station car park is letter E, what do? Just slot in letter E, all right? Slot it in the blank. Once you're done with that, focus on the next one, which is cinema. The speaker will start describing cinema, start explaining everything about cinema. And what are you expected to do? You're expected to pay attention, rapt attention. Anyone you've picked, okay, just overlook it, focus on other ones, okay? So, and the idea is that you will have more features and less facilities. You have more plans and less facilities. Why? Because so that you could pick the wrong option, so that you can pick the wrong plan. That's why you have more plans. You can see that you have up to about 7, and then you have just about 5 here. That's the trick of the examiner, to make sure that you're able to pick the wrong one among these plans. Now, once the examiner is done with cinema, all right, he or she will move to indoor markets and start describing, start explaining what indoor markets is all about. And while he or she is describing that, please pay attention. Your eyeball is supposed to be moving up, down between these letters you're seeing, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. Your eyeball will be moving up, down, up, down, up, down, until you're able to find the appropriate descriptive phrase. Once you're able to find a particular phrase that captures the indoor market. Once you're able to find that phrase, simply impute the letter. Just type in the letter. You don't need to type in the phrase, or you need to type in the sentence. Just impute the letter there. I hope this is very, very clear. Like I said, this requires speed and accuracy as well too. Because ability to easily identify the specific sentence and type it in matters a lot. Then adequate concentration, rapt attention. You need to listen very, very well to the speaker so that you can actually hear once it is mentioned. And remember, like I said, for example, just as the first one is, the plan, the first one is, if we move to a new location, examiner will never say it word for word. Trust me. The speaker will never say it word for word. He or she would tweak the vocabulary. New location might be changed to a fresh residence. Can you see? That's a tweak. So if you're expecting the examiner to repeat it word for word, trust me, that's a waste of time. Okay? As a solid waste of time. Now, I've been able to cover the question types in IELTS. And remember, you can have up to two sentence completion, like section 1, section 2 can have two sentence completion, while multiple choice questions, you can have up to about 2 of them. You can have them in section 2 and section 3. Naturally, section 4 is fill in the gap. By default, section 4 is fill in the gap. There are no two ways about it. Section 4 is actually filling the gap. While section 1 can be fill in the gap or multiple choice question. These are the very common question types that you come across in IELTS listening. Now, if these three are clear, let's proceed to the strategy. This is where you need to pay rapt attention. This is where you need to pay extra attention. These are strategies that will enable you to what? To score very, very high. Yes, I've seen students who had 8.5 only in listening. I've seen students that had 9.0 in listening test in practice, actually. So it's possible. My students, I'm talking about my own students, the ones that I train in the office. So now, let's start with the strategies. Number one, the first and most important strategy is please ignore the native speaker's accents. Ignore the native speaker's accent. What I'm trying to say is that do not pay attention to the native speaker's accent. The moment the conversation starts, ignore the native speaker's accent. Just as I'm talking now, you're not paying attention to my accent. You're listening to the content, to the message, to the information that I'm passing across, not my accent. So disregard the native speaker's accent. Instead, focus on the message, because that's actually what will give you the answer. That's actually where you will extract your answer from. Focus on the content. Disregard, ignore the accent of the native speaker. Number two, be conversant with English spellings. Yes, your ability to spell English words should be top notch. At this stage, you're not expected to make any mistake in English spellings. All right? Because let me tell you, it is one thing to hear the answer, it is another thing to type it correctly. Yes, very, very important. It is one thing to hear the answer, it is another thing to type in that same answer correctly. It is another thing to spell it by typing it out correctly. You have to be very, very good with English spellings. And remember, in the listening test, there is no half mark. Even if it's just one letter, even if it's just a letter, once it's wrong, it is wrong. The next strategy, turn on the cap lock. The moment you start the listening test, turn on the cap lock till you're done with the listening test. And this cap lock switch is only applicable to listening tests. You cannot use it for writing. You can't use it for writing. And some may ask, what is the essence of turning on the cap lock? Because of proper nouns. because of proper nouns. That's the essence of turning on the cap lock. For instance, if you're to write a specific name of a person, let's say Johnson, and you start with small letter J, despite the fact that the spelling of the word Johnson is correct, for the fact that you started with small letter J, the answer will be wrong. So it is important for you to turn on the cap lock. If you're to write a specific name of a country, Canada, for instance, and you start with small letter C, despite the fact that you got the spelling correctly, but you started with small letter C, the answer will also be wrong. Any subject in this world, physics, chemistry, mathematics, any subject at all, you must start with a capital letter. These are examples of proper nouns that I'm giving you, and that's the essence of turning the cap lock on. These are important strategies. Now, another important strategy again is you need to maintain a steady pace with the speaker. This is very, very important. You need to maintain a steady pace with the speaker. Ensure you're writing this down the way I'm saying it, because I'm sharing these strategies based on what we have seen over the years. You need to maintain a steady pace with the speaker. Let me explain further so that you understand. What I mean by maintaining a steady pace is, if the speaker is in question number 4, please be in question number 4 as well. Also, as the speaker is moving from question number 4 to question number 5, ensure you're moving likewise. If it is possible, be some seconds ahead of the examiner. Be some seconds ahead of the speaker. Now, imagine a situation whereby the speaker is in question number 4 and you are still in question number 3. What do you think will happen? You will find it very, very difficult to catch up with the speaker. By the time the speaker moves to question number 5, you're struggling to meet up. And by that, you're missing out in some questions. Maintain a steady pace. Maintain a steady pace. Very, very important. This is one of the very powerful free lecture you can have anywhere. Maintain a steady pace with the examiner. Like I said, if it is possible, be some seconds ahead of the examiner. Be some seconds ahead of the speaker. By examiner, I mean the speaker. And by speaker, I mean the examiner. Don't forget. Now, I think that point is noted already. Now, the next point is be conversant with English names, because during conversations, okay, names are usually spelled. Be conversant with English names. So usually when a name is spelled, all right, you are expected to type in the letters accurately. No room for any mistake. When a name is spelled during the listening test, you are expected to type in the name accurately. Letter J, you type it. Letter A, you type it. You don't mix any letter. If you do, there's a problem. I hope you're noting this strategy. It's very, very important. Another important strategy is adhere strictly to instructions. Adhere strictly to instructions. Somebody asked me a question about instruction. I think it's read one, if I can remember, right? And I tried to explain the concept of the instruction. Now, adhere strictly to instructions. Now, remember, when it comes to instruction, you're supposed to pay attention so much. Like I said yesterday, that's the first thing you would read. Read the instruction. Read the instruction. Apart from just reading the instruction, understand the instruction. Know what you're supposed to do. It is one thing to read instructions, another thing to understand and know what you're supposed to do. Now, if you're asked, write no more than 3 words. Write no more than 3 words. That main clause already tells you that what? That your answer, your response should not exceed 3 words. Then there's a further instruction, which is what? And or a number for each answer, which means in some cases, There will be a what? There will be a number. In other cases, a number might not be required. And bear it in mind that when you're asked to write no more than 3 words, it doesn't mean that one word will not serve as your answer. One word can equally serve as your answer. 2 words can equally serve as your answer. The maximum should be 3 words. Don't forget. And if you have a compound word, remember to hyphenate it. Very, very important. How do you derive compound words? A prefix and a root word will form a compound word. For example, self-respect, self-reliance, self-improvement. You have a compound word. Another way, compound word, lieutenant general, compound word, hyphenate it. Attorney general, hyphenate it. Very, very important. Father-in-law, hyphenate them. Very, very important. If you don't hyphenate, this is an English language class. If you don't hyphenate it, examiner would actually ring it during exam time. Now, if that is clear enough, let's proceed to another strategy, which is what? Be mindful of paraphrases. Yes, I have said this countless times. Be mindful of paraphrases in listening tests. Don't expect the examiner to repeat or to say the question the way it appeared. No, they can never do that. I personally believe they do that, it's no longer an exam. They are trying to test your level of comprehension, your ability to listen. That's what they're doing. So they want to tweak the vocabulary. They want to look for a way to paraphrase the question. Where you have address, you will hear residence. What are they trying to do? Paraphrase. So pay attention to synonyms. Pay attention to paraphrases in the listening test. Very, very important. When you have documents in the question, it is in the speaker's conversation, you will hear papers. Documents, papers, they mean the same thing. Don't expect the examiner to repeat exactly the same thing you're saying. Don't expect them to repeat exactly the same question you're looking at. They will paraphrase it. I hope you're jotting all this. That's why we call it strategies for the listening test. I hope you're jotting them down. Very, very important. Let me also bring to your attention. Listening is only judged. Listening is only marked based on what you heard. Let me say it again for some of you that didn't hear me. Listening is only marked. Listening is only judged. All right. For you to have a particular answer correctly, it is only judged based on what you heard. That's why we call it listening. Not based on what you assume to be the answer. Not based on what you think to be the answer. No. Exactly what you heard. Let me give a very perfect example. Now, during a listening test, let's assume you heard February. Please type in February as your answer. Do not type second month. I know you want to say that February is also the same thing as second month. Yes, I agree with you. But the question is, did you hear February? Did you hear second month? No, you didn't hear second month. What you heard was February. So that's why I told you that listening is judged based on what you heard, not based on intuitiveness, not based on assumption or presumption, based on what you heard. Now, the next strategy. The next strategy here is morpheme. All right, morpheme. For some that might find this difficult to type, morpheme is M-O-R-P-H-E-M-E. Morpheme. Morpheme. All right. I think I need to mute this person so that it doesn't distract me. Or has this person been muted? Okay. Now, morpheme, like I explained, very, very important. Now, this is relevant, especially when you're writing your answers. Use morphemes. Use morphemes. For some of your answers, use morphemes. What is a morpheme? Okay. It's just actually the under syntactic category is the lowest part. You know, from morpheme, you have a word. From a word, you have a phrase. From a phrase, you have a clause. And from a clause, you have a sentence. So morpheme is actually the lowest grammatical units. Okay, so morpheme is just a letter basically, right? Just a letter that you attach to a root word. That's morpheme. Now, a group of morpheme will form a word. A group of words will form a phrase. Another word for phrase is called a group. A group of phrases will form a clause. A group of clauses will form a sentence. All right. So here, what we're looking at basically is a morpheme. So a morpheme is just a letter that you attach to a root word. For example, if I have B-O-Y-S, now the B-O-Y is the root word. That's the main word itself. It has a lexical entry. You can find it in the dictionary. The S attached to it doesn't have a lexical entry at all. It's just a morpheme. And the function of that morpheme is plurality. It indicates plural. So now, how is this relevant to listening test? Now, for some of your answers, most especially if you're struggling to know whether the word is singular or plural, ensure to use morpheme. Try to use morpheme. Let me give you a perfect example. If I'm listening to a conversation and then one of the speakers said documents, all right? In rapid succession, I heard documents, but I find it very difficult to decipher whether it is document as singular or document as plural. What do I do? Now, I will just simply type document, open a bracket, insert letter S, and then close it. When I do that, I'm simply passing a message to the examiner. I'm trying to tell the examiner whether it is singular or plural. I am safe. Because that graphy, that writing means document or documents. Document or documents, meaning singular or plural. That's what I'm trying to tell the examiner. So whichever one it is, I am safe. That's the concept of morpheme. Don't forget, very, very important. Now, the next strategy in the listening test, the next strategy is called skipping, question skipping. Now, this is very, very common when it comes to section 3 and section 4. Examiners are very, very smart. All right. What you would experience is that, of course, section 3, you would have question number 21 to 30. So, for example, the examiner would, who is this person, please? Man picking. Can you, let me see. I need to mute this person. All right. So, question number 21, for example, examiner will read out that and you will get the answer correctly. Now, you would be expecting the examiner to move to question number 22, right? Now, it is possible for the examiner to skip question number 22. That's question skipping. The speaker can skip question number 22 and proceed to question number 23. In that scenario, what are you supposed to do? You'll be lost. Okay? I'm using this concept to explain two important strategies. What are those two important strategies? Number one strategy I'm explaining here is question skipping. Pay attention to that. Have it in mind. Be conscious of it, that there will be question skipping at some point, usually from section 3 and section 4. Examiner may decide to skip a particular question. Now, the second strategy I'm explaining in between this is that when you get to section 3 and section 4, Instead of focusing on one question, please focus on two questions at a stretch. For instance, when you get to section 3, focus on question 21 and 22. When you're done with question 21 and 22, focus on question 23 and 24. When you're done with question 23 and 24, then focus on question 25 and 26. Pick two questions at a stretch to focus on. Do not only focus on one question because of skipping. So that any moment the examiner skips any particular question, you are aware. And you will evade such trick. Are we together? Now, another important strategy that I love most, okay, is practice consistently and review. Practice consistently and review. This is very, very important. Let me tell you, in order to do well in the listening test, you need to practice consistently. Because the more you're practicing, you're getting so used to the formats. The more you're practicing, you're getting so used to the question type. The more you're practicing, the whole concept is making sense to you. Even when you score 6.5, when you have 6.5 band, don't get mad at yourself. Review. Try to check those ones you missed. Those questions you missed, try to check them. That's where this software comes in. Because we've actually identified the correct answer. We've explained why this particular answer is correct, and you can easily review. Try to review. Know why you missed a question. Know why you missed a question. Reviewing is very, very important. And keep practicing. Listening is just 30 minutes. The more you practice, the better you become. For you to have people having 8.5, 8.0 band, trust me, they have practiced a lot. They've got so used to the system. They've gotten so used to the system. All right. Now, let me explain the last strategy. Okay. Now, the last strategy is when you look at a question, if a word already appeared in a question, when you're typing in your answer, do not repeat that word. If a unit, let's say pounds or dollar, had already appeared in the question, trust me, the speaker will still pronounce it. It's a trick. It's actually a trick. The speaker will still pronounce it, but trust me, do not repeat that unit. Let's assume, for example, it is 50 pounds. Then the pounds had already been written in the question. You're seeing the pounds there. Simply type 50. Do not add the symbol anymore. Why? Because the symbol, which is pounds, had already appeared in the question. All you simply have to do is to simply type 50. Also, if a word had already appeared in the question, if a word had already occurred in the question, don't repeat it when you're typing your answer. Let me give you a perfect example. There was a particular listening question that it's a conversation between an admission officer and a student. No, I think it's a lecturer and a student. So now the lecturer is asking the students, since you're going for a holiday, when would you resume lecture? Or no, lecturer said, which month will you resume lecture? And then his student now replied, second month. Remember, the question is, which month would you resume lecture? There is month in the question. And the students responded by saying second month. Now, if you're to type in your answer, simply type in second, leave out the month. Why are you leaving out the month? Because that word month had already appeared, had already occurred in the question asked. I hope this is very, very clear. Do not make any of this mistake that I'm highlighting as strategies. Don't make them. Don't make any of these mistakes. All right. So I am done with all the question types and all the strategies, and I believe that you're able to take note of them one after another. Beautiful. If you have any question, please ask me. I will take questions now. I will entertain questions now. If you have any question, do well to ask me. You can type it. Just simply type it. Don't unmute yourself. Just simply type it. I'll read it from here, and then I will respond. This is 8 on dot. If you have a question, ask me. Let me take about 5 to 10 minutes to respond to questions. And since it's a recorded version, do not ask me to repeat a particular question type. It means you weren't in the class. That's why I gave adequate time for us to join. All right, it seems today's lecture is very, very simplified, very direct, and I don't think there's any question. All right. This is a sentence fragment. The sentence is not complete. The sentence is not expected to end with an adjective. All right. So we're expecting the noun to follow. Thank you for another wonderful, maybe lecture or a class. All right. Markwa says is yet to get any of the recorded class. Okay. I think Ace Education will respond to you. So Ace Edu and Travel Consult would respond to you regarding the recorded version. All right, thank you. I always advise that we rename our device or rename our email, remoy@yahoo.com. Yes, said this was an awesome class. Looking forward to the next one. All right, thank you. Thank you. Poinshola says, how do we determine if we're to spell a word the British way or the American way? All right, let me respond to this particular question. Okay, Poinshola, basically, even in writing, okay, let me deviate a little bit to writing because writing has to do with, writing would have more words than listening. Even in writing, okay, when you're doing IELTS writing, you are expected to maintain consistency. What do I mean? Maintain a consistency in whichever one you're good with. For example, I know both British pattern of spelling and American pattern of spelling. I know both of them. All right. I can decide to use any one. But in your own case, if you're good with the British pattern of spelling, please maintain consistency. And if you're good with the American pattern of spelling, please maintain consistency. What examiner appreciates so much is your level of consistency. Do not mix both of them together when you're writing. Now, let me come back to listening. When you're typing your answer as well, too, try to maintain consistency. If you're typing your answers in British formats or British pattern of spelling, use British pattern of spelling all through. Now, since I haven't seen any question, let me quickly run through them. If you're with your pen, and thank God this is also recorded, so you can have them later. Now, there's a difference between British pattern of spelling. It is written as BRE, okay? That's the British English, and AME, that's the American English. Now, remember, okay, because of Foyinshola, please quickly jot this down. In the British pattern of spelling, all right, we mostly use RE for words like liter, center. Are you with me? Now, in American English, we mostly use ER for words like liter, center, or meter. So in this case, you write meter as METER. Why British English, you write meter as METRE. Don't forget. Secondly, in British English, we use OUR for words like color, labor, and neighbor. Let's leave it beside you. All right. I hope that's clear. Now let's move to American English. American English, we simply use OR. Yes, thank you, Ridwan. Honor. Good. Okay. So in American English, we simply use OR for words like color, honor, okay, labor, and the rest of them. Now, the third one, in British English, we basically use ISE. ISE for specialize, capitalize, okay, mobilize, and so on. Now, in American English, what we basically do is that we basically use only IZE for words like capitalize, specialize, and the likes. Now, another aspect again is we use LOGUE, log, in British English, and then we use LOG, for American, for words like catalog, monologue, all right, and so on. Now, in American English, we have LOG for words like monologue, catalog, and the rest of them. Now, British English as well too, we use S. American English, we use Z for words like organization. Another one, British English, we use double L. We use double L for present tense, remember, in a continuous form rather. And then we use single L for continuous form and past tense. Words like traveling or traveled. Okay? So I think this will help you a lot. Let me take another question. Said, okay, yeah, I think I've answered for Inshola. Let me answer for Follower. Said, I have a question. You mentioned that one should be conversant with spellings. What happens when a name has more than one acceptable spellings? For example, a name like Elliot can be spelled with T or with TS or with TT. All right. Would both spellings be considered correct, or would only one be acceptable? Now, in a scenario like this, the marking scheme for listening will have both spellings available. Let me say that again. In a case like this, the marking scheme for listening, we have both spellings available. Why would he have both spellings available? Because there's a possibility that a student will spell the first one and another student will spell the second one. So that's why both of them would be available. So that whichever one any student spells, that will be correct. Any other question? Then I have, if the recording is ready, you will all be notified, okay? It will be on our YouTube channel. Just hang in there and anticipate. Okay. Yeah, for Kwefuluwa, thank you too. So the two spellings will be made available to the examiner marking the listening test, so that whichever one any student picks, that will be correct. Because we don't discriminate whether British or American, but just maintain consistency all through. Any possible question again? This is 809. Any other possible question? If there is none, we'll call it a 9. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's true. Read one. Sometimes the examiner or the speaker will definitely spell the names and address. Yeah. So if it's the name of an address, you will hear it basically. And once you hear it, please type in the spelling correctly. And if it's a name too, type in the exact name correctly. Yes, Innocent KZ, thank you so much too. I really appreciate you've been consistent all this while. Where is Rita? Rita Raymond, if I can remember. Rita Raymond. These are the ones that are usually consistent. Okay, where is she? Yes. Okay, you are the real. Why don't you use your name now? I don't like email. I don't like, just use your, so that I can address you by your name. Hmm? Great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Yes, they will specify in the spelling. Read one, that's correct. You'll hear TT, all right? Or you hear double letter T. You also hear that too. That's correct. So that means Ridwan has been practicing. I think he's getting along so well with everything I'm teaching from his observation. All right. I don't think there's any more questions. So
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in today. Be reminded that the classes continue tomorrow, and thank you so much, Star Ubina, for taking this with us, for having these classes with us. That's actually been very engaging and interesting. We look forward to doing so. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Please join early tomorrow. Please don't forget to join early tomorrow. Thank you very much. You're saying something?
okay, yeah. So I wanted to tell them, I don't know
Mr.
if,
Ubina.
yeah. So since I'm done with this listening test, I need it to be advisable for them to practice. So I'm willing to actually give them about 40 official IELTS materials for free, basically, so they can practice on their own, and then maybe during the class they can just give me feedback. Some might just tell me, okay, during my practice I got 7.0, I got 6 points. I just wanted them to apply everything I've taught, you know, to the class. So
And
I
you
don't
can
know,
send it. You can
maybe
send
you
it
can
to.
help,
You can
maybe
send
you
it to
can
us.
help
Then
me.
we're going to get it across to them
Okay, yeah,
before the end of or first thing tomorrow morning, so that they're going to
yeah.
practice before the class in the evening.
All
Thank you
right.
so much.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Okay. All right. Thank you so much too. All right. I would have everyone tomorrow by God's grace. Thank you and have a good night.
Thank you, sir. Thank you all. Bye.